Hello, my CNC brothers and sisters. It's another chilly Wednesday, and another CNC Wednesday evening hangout with our CNC brothers and sisters. And we got a special show going on tonight where we're going to talk about lasers, something I am not very knowledgeable about. We have someone that many of you know, Jack in the Shop, who you've chatted with for the regulars who jump on the channel here. And Jack is pretty stinking handy with his machines. He converted a CNC router to a plasma machine. And so just some of the stuff that he's done. So we're going to talk about lasers tonight. We're going to talk about the basics and then Lightburn. And then questions is a good opportunity to ask your questions. And the way to ask a question is by putting question marks in front of your question, because we have the team in the background watching all your comments, Julianne and Liberty, which I'll bring out in just a moment. First of all, I want to say a few hellos to a few people. We have quite a few people on board right now, so I can't say hi to everyone. We're going to say hi to Benny from Mississippi and Robert from Nebraska. We got Dale and Jim and high school wood shop with Mr. Chick from Chester, New Hampshire. And hello from Jersey. A couple folks from New Jersey out there. Hey, I used to live in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, Berkeley Heights, right near Summit. And then Dwayne from Oregon, Chris Gallagher. Hey, what's going on, Chris and Ralph? And there's some names in here I have not seen before. BFAA Towson from South Texas. I hope you got some warmer weather than we have, because it's been down in single and teens today and yesterday. Jetty, what's going on there, Jetty? Jetty sent us a little project he made, coasters. There's one for each of us, personalized coasters. And for the rest of the CNC brothers and sisters out there, we are going to be talking lasers tonight. But first, I want to bring on board Liberty from IDC Woodcraft, the fulfillment manager who makes sure all your CNC bits get to you with love, and Julianne, the administrator who keeps all the everything tied together. And without these guys, I just couldn't do what I do. And so make sure you take a little bit of time and give them some love. They'll be chatting with you in the background, and they will be starring your questions. And ladies, we're talking lasers tonight. You have any questions, jump on board and ask them. And do we have any announcements? Oh, yeah, we're doing a giveaway at 9 o'clock. All right, Julianne or Liberty, talk about this giveaway that we do every Wednesday. Oh, putting it on Julianne.
I get elected for this, I guess. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. If you're new to the channel, anybody's channel, just welcome. If you're returning, hi. As some of you probably already know, we have started doing giveaways on our Wednesday night lives. Well, this week, since we have our special guest, Jack in the Shop, we have a Jack-related giveaway to do. So I'm not going to reveal it just yet. So you guys just have to hang on and figure out what it is. So, but yeah.
All right. Yep. An hour from now, 9 o'clock our time, 9 p.m., we're going to do that giveaway. So hang on board. And when the time comes, the ladies are going to come on board. They're going to take the show over, and they are going to run this giveaway. So they will be in the background. Just they are the two at IDC Woodcraft who are keeping everything together. So make sure you stop by idcwoodcraft.com for your router bits, and these ladies will have you taken care of. All right, ladies, I'll see you in the background. And so we're going to be talking lasers with our man Jack Marie from Jack in the Shop, as you know, if you've been on the channel. So Jack, I'm going to bring you on board. Welcome, and thank you for coming on board, folks. This is the face of the guy you've been chatting with in the Wednesday night lives. So Jack, thank you for taking some time to come and start talking about lasers, something apparently a lot of people are interested in. We got quite a few extras on board tonight.
I hear you. Well, it's good to be with you. I'm glad you decided to finally get me on here. You've been after me for a while, so
Yeah. I've been actually talking to Jack for probably a good 2 years now. I'm not sure how we connected, but once in a while we'll text each other. And Jack just comes up with this cool stuff. So, hey, Jack, before we kind of dive into talking about lasers and then getting into some education on it and handling the questions that are coming up. By the way, folks, if we get too bombarded with questions, we will have a cutoff time. Generally, that's about 9 o'clock as well. But if we don't have enough, then we will throw them in there. Anyway, so Jack, talk to us. What is your CNC deal? When did you get into CNC, and how did you start like tinkering the DIY to transform your CNCs and you're into 3D printing and lasers and keep just
yeah,
bring it out, brother.
I got a multitude of machines. Actually, I've been into a bunch of stuff for about 4 or 5 years. I've always been into any kind of electronics. My first CNC machine was actually 3D printed. So I mean, I've been building computers since I was 14. This is the CNC machine that I actually 3D printed and built. That's the MP CNC and I use the Harbor Freight Bauer router. But I've always been into some stuff like that. And when I got the long mill, I wanted a plasma as well, and I just don't have the room, so I put 2 into 1. That's
How did you
much,
convert your long mill? How did you convert the long mill into a plasma cutter?
It's actually not that hard. It's really easy to do. I measured out the torch, and I 3D printed an adapter to be able to hold the torch in the mount for the router mount. I put a relay. I tied the relay to the spindle pin on the longboard, and that relay triggers the torch. And I still do all my programming in VCarve. And I still use G-Center to operate it.
Okay. All right, cool. I just saw a comment. Someone was saying my picture is fuzzy. So, folks, I have a slower internet where I'm at, so that's just something I have to deal with, and it's just what it is. So, okay. So, and then you got into lasers, and what kind of lasers do you have?
Oh, Lord. I've got a 5-watt diode O2 laser master. I've got a 22-watt diode Elegoo laser. I've got a 40-watt CO2. I've got a 60-watt CO2. I've got a 30-watt fiber, and I've got a 100-watt fiber.
I'm starting to get the picture why you don't have any room. How many 3D printers do you have?
I have 2 Ender 3s. I've got the Bamboo X1C, and I have a resin printer.
Okay, resin printer. I've not heard of that. What is a resin printer?
Resin printer uses a liquid resin, and there's a screen in the bottom. Your build plate comes down into the liquid resin. There's a screen in the bottom that shines a UV light and cures each layer as it builds up. So instead of using a filament, it uses a liquid.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. And how many CNC routers do you have?
I've only got the 2, the one I 3D printed and put together, and the long mill.
Okay. Geez, that's it with the 3 CNC routers compared to the lasers and all the other machines. So, all right. Well, cool. Let's kind of dive into, let's dive into lasers. So when Jack and I were talking earlier, he said, you know, it's kind of like, since I am not privy to lasers, and Julianne wants to learn lasers specifically, and I know Liberty wants to get some understanding of lasers, it's really good for the IDC Woodcraft team too. You never know. Maybe we'll get into laser stuff. And anyway, so as we were talking, it was where do we start? And it really is, let's start at the bird's eye view, right? We're going to kind of talk about Lightburn, and so you said something about the 3 kinds of lasers that Lightburn can run. You wanted to talk about a bit about laser safety, and so let's what are the three types of lasers first that are common out there that people would use the program like Lightburn?
The three types you usually have for people that start and get in, you have the Gerbil, the GRBL, and that's your diode, your small frame diodes. You have the Roida, which is mainly your CO2s. And then you have the, I'm going to say Galvo, not necessarily a fiber, because you can have you can also have a CO2 Galvo. And a Galvo gives you a much smaller work area, but it's incredibly fast. And that's three types of lasers that most people get into.
Okay. All right. And so you wanted to say something about laser safety, like the kinds of glasses that you would use and different kinds of lasers, stuff like that. Go ahead and share a little bit about that.
Well, I got a PowerPoint with some of that stuff on there, but I mean, the glasses you get need to be specific for the laser you have. And I know when you get a CO2 laser, half time they don't send glasses because they are enclosed. But the diodes and the fibers, sometimes they will send you the cheap little green glasses.
Yeah.
You might get these cheap little, I throw them in the garbage. I've seen people shoot lasers through these glasses and it still marks the material under them. So I would not use those. I like these free mascots. These free mascots off Amazon, they're about $50, but they fit perfectly over if you're wearing regular glasses. And they are rated, they're marked on the lens what they're rated for. And these are good for the diodes and the fibers.
All right, I'm going to see if I can find these on Amazon here so people can see what we're looking at. So the free mascot, there we go, got it. So look at that, like a $22 one. Well, let me share my screen and it'll come back, and so we can the exact one that you're talking about. And then so the glasses clearly are really important.
You only get one pair of eyes.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, only one pair of eyes. So there's lots of different kinds of free mascots here. What are we looking for in specifically?
You're looking for the wavelength. You want to make sure that the wavelength is marked, and the wavelength of the diode is 450 nanometers, and the wavelength of the fiber is 1064. And you want to make sure you get those two numbers.
Okay, so something like there's a 190 to 400. That's not good enough, right? For some of these. Okay, well, I'll just put this link in the.
That would be good for the diode lasers.
Okay, I'll put this link in the comments, and then people can take a look at that. So let me bring my screen share down, and I'll put a link in there for that. So you said you had a PowerPoint that you wanted to. Okay, well, let's bring your PowerPoint up. Let's go through that a bit, folks. We will take questions a little bit later, and let's let Jock share some of the stuff that he wants to share here. So go ahead, you can share your screen, and let's do it. Or I'll bring it up. I got your screen. Floor is yours, my friend.
Here's the first types of lasers you'd see. This right here is the laser I have. It's the open frame diode. This does work on the 450 nanometer wavelength. The only thing you have to worry about with these is the smoke it produces. There's no way to capture smoke, so you need to make sure you're in a well ventilated area. This over here is the Lasermatic. Well, I'll go back. That Lasermatic comes with everything you need. It comes with the honeycomb. It'll come with air assist. It comes with the rotary tool. The Elegoo does not. The way a diode laser works is if you've got a 40-watt laser, they stack a bunch of these 5-watt diodes together, and they combine them through these mirrors. And the more wattage you have, the more diodes they have to stack in here, the bigger your beam's going to be. Now, most of your diodes are Gerbil based. So that's the first type
Okay.
of laser that Lightburn can
So
control.
Gerbil based means it's it's like G-Send or UGS. Okay, those control
exactly
softwares.
right.
Okay.
And diodes are good for wood, leather, dark acrylics. It can take anodizing off of aluminum, but it cannot mark the aluminum too much. Paper and cardboard. It's not good for clear acrylics. Diodes can't do anything really with clear acrylics without some sort of spray or some kind of help. It's not going to do anything with bare metals, vinyl records, PVC, and ABSs. That's a big no-no for lasers. Those materials have chlorine in them, and when you burn it, it produces chlorine gas and highly toxic to breathe, and it will eat up your electronics, and it will corrode all the metal in there. So you don't want to put any of those materials in any of the lasers.
So that's anything with PVC, vinyl. Isn't vinyl kind of like that too?
Vinyl, absolutely. Absolutely. And your CO2 lasers have this Rorita controller. Got a little display on there. It gives you a little preview of what you're getting ready to burn. You can store a ton of files on the controller itself and use this laser with no computer. You can change your speeds and your powers on the fly. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. It does use a glass tube in the back of it that has to be water cooled. So if you get a CO2, you're going to have a water tank or a chiller or something like that to keep this glass tube cool.
Otherwise, the tube gets too hot and it'll bust. What happens?
Oh
with
yeah,
that?
absolutely. It will burn out.
Okay.
You never want to run a glass tube, a CO2, more than about 65% power, because that will drastically reduce the lifespan of that tube. A diode laser, you can run it 100% all the time.
Interesting.
Now the galvo laser, you got a fiber source inside of this blue tower, and there's a pumped diode system, and it pumps the light through a fiber optic cable through this laser head and then into this galvanometer, and that scans your laser back and forth so fast it looks like a solid beam. And like I said, it works on the 1064 nanometers.
Okay. And what causes how is a laser it's not done by the fiber laser, it's not run by diodes. What is the source of the
It
laser
actually is.
itself? Oh, it is.
This is your laser source, and it is a bunch of diodes on infrared 1064 nanometers, and they're pumped diodes. They're not regular diodes, but that's what this red box is.
Okay. So
nanometer
is like that.
That's the wavelength of the light.
Yeah. Okay. And so what makes fiber lasers are good for metal? What's the difference? Yes. Why can a fiber laser do metal and maybe a CO2 can't?
That's all about this number right here. It's the wavelength. 405 nanometers, it'll just bounce off stuff reflective. That's your diode lasers. 10,600 nanometers will also just bounce off reflective stuff, and that's your CO2 lasers. So it's just all about that wavelength.
Okay.
That's why everybody wants to know, what is the best laser for me to get? Well, I need to know what you're going to do with it. That's why I've got all of them, because there's no one best laser. Here's the free mascots I was talking about, and they are marked up here with the wavelength that they will protect you from. And this is the pair from this is the pair for the CO2 laser, marked 9,000 to 11,000 nanometers.
So you can see right through those.
Times, yeah, these are clear. And again, that's all about the wavelength of the light, what it protects you from. These will not protect you from the diodes or the fibers, but they will for the CO2.
Okay.
Now, They do protect you from the wavelength of the light coming out of the laser. They do not protect you from the brightness of the light actually interacting with the metal. That's just like a little welder. You don't want to sit there and just stare at it all day with clear glasses, or especially no glasses on. This is the CO2 gantry. That dot's a whole lot smaller, but it's still very bright. So that's pretty much all I got on the different types of laser.
Okay. So then what? Okay. So what is each laser good for? So you said with the diode it was good for cardboard, paper. What was the other?
Leather. It can do leathers, cardboards, papers, organic material, dark acrylics.
Okay.
Dark greens, blacks, dark blues. It will not do much with clear acrylics. It won't cut it whatsoever. It'll just go right through it.
And again, that's the wavelength. So everything about the laser and what it can do is based on a wavelength. Then.
That's correct.
Then in the CO2, obviously it can cut. Right.
It will cut clear acrylics. It's good for clear acrylics and leathers and stuff like that.
Okay. And then the fiber laser, I guess that can cut as well as etch away metal. Basically, it's basically heating up the metal.
I can cut 16 gauge steel with my fiber laser.
16 gauge. Wow, that's pretty hefty. That's pretty hefty.
But you can increase the speed, dial the power way back, and just remove the paint off tumblers. But the light works differently for different colors too. So you have different settings for a blue tumbler as you would a red tumbler. That's why I like to do this on the CO2, because the CO2 cannot hurt the metal. So you can just full blast every color on the CO2 and you'll be fine.
Okay, and that's because it's the different colors are reflecting some of the light that it's putting out, or it's not as absorptive of the light that's coming to it. So you have to crank up the power. So with CNC routers, we have the three things that we need to work with, right? Which is feeds, speeds, and depth of cut. With lasers, what is the criteria?
On a diode laser and on a CO2 laser, you have power and speed. And not a lot of people understand this. Focus is just as important. So those are the three main things for the diodes and the CO2s.
Okay, so the focus of the lens, and that's why they give you the different lenses that will focus it at different lengths from the tip of the laser head.
A diode lens is set. You cannot change a diode lens, but a CO2 and a fiber you can.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Lightburn, the basics of Lightburn, and then we'll get to some of the questions. Now, folks, we are going to be doing a giveaway, a special giveaway. We do giveaways every Wednesday, and we do it at the top of the hour, which for us will be 9 p.m. and it is 8:23 right now p.m. for us. And at that time, Liberty and Julianne will come on board and they will take over the show for a little bit, but we have a special giveaway because we have Jack on board. So every Wednesday, though, is a giveaway. All right, so Jack, let's dive into some Lightburn. You about ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Let's just cover a few of the basics, and then we'll start handling some questions.
Well, this is Lightburn, of course. I've already got a few tool paths in here. If you want to call them tool paths, we call them layers.
Julianne, will you maximize his screen? All right.
We got our cuts and layers over here. This is where you would adjust your settings.
Which is where? Oh, okay. All the color on the right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You select one, double click on it, and that will bring your settings up. I'm on the Rowita machine, so the maximum on this CO2 is like 400 millimeters a second. But if I'm going to engrave, usually it's at like 350, 60% power is about as high as I'd ever want to go on my CO2 laser tube.
Okay.
We
And is
also
that for
have
cutting or for engraving?
300
etching?
millimeters a second. That will be for engraving.
Okay.
You can tell that by the feel. If we want to cut, we would move this to a line, and we would greatly reduce that to like an 8 millimeters a second.
Okay.
Just like on the CNC, on the bits, we have a step over. On the laser, we have a line interval, lines per millimeter. I got mine set to. And I usually engrave everything at like a 0.1 millimeters for the CO2.
Okay. So that's the equivalent of the step over, basically.
Correct.
If we were to compare apples to apples. Okay. Gotcha.
Right. And the difference between the lenses, the focal distance, is another important aspect. I've got 2 laser nozzles here drawn out, and I'm going to use this green rectangle to represent our material. We're going to pretend that this is a light beam coming through the nozzle. Once it hits this point right here, that's where the lens lives. That lens is going to focus that light into a cone. The distance from the lens to where that beam makes the sharpest point right there, that is the focal length of the lens. This one right here happens to represent a 4-inch lens. If we put our material on there, we would typically set our material right in that focal length. I've got a blue box here to represent the effectiveness of that beam. So if I wanted to cut that material, I would actually focus the middle, I'd actually focus that focus point to the middle of the material. That'll give me the sharpest cut on the top and bottom. So if I come down way down here, you can see that where the light exits the material is a lot wider. So your curve would be a lot bigger at the bottom. That's why a 4-inch lens is really good for cutting. Most of them come with a 2-inch lens. They're really good for engraving. And
so when you're saying 4-inch and 2-inch, that would be the 4-inch and 2-inch. That would be the distance from the lens.
Distance from the lens to where the beam makes its sharpest point.
Okay.
All these lenses are 18 millimeters in diameter, and they're just interchangeable. But you can see right there, a 2-inch lens would not have as long of a effective area to cut.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference in your focal length. And that would kind of be like your depth of cut on the CNC. But, did I just confuse you? Or?
No, that made sense to me. That's changing the focal length over the distance. We'll say a 1/4-inch piece of whatever you're cutting. Can that actually really have a difference in the cut between that?
Yes. This right here. Really? Well, a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 of an inch, not really. Not that big, not that noticeable. A 1/2 inch and bigger, absolutely. You would notice the kerf getting bigger if you sit right on the focal point, especially on a 2-inch, because that cone is it comes out a lot further.
How do you know how to set generally how to set your distance?
When you get a CO2, it'll come with a little gauge, and that gauge, it's just a little piece of acrylic, and you'll set it right here. You'll set your nozzle on top of it. Control Z. And that'll sit on top of your wood, and that's how you would measure your focal length. In my experience, half time those gauges are not 100% accurate, so I would do a ramp test. I would put my material on an incline, and I would fire the laser and run it across the material. I'd look at that material and find the smallest portion of that line, and I'd measure the distance from there to the nozzle, and that's how I'd find my focal distance.
Okay.
Does that make
Interesting.
sense?
And then yeah, it makes total sense. And once you know that number, you're figuring out the height based, where the board is at, and then you can tweak it from there. How do you actually, when you have that board or whatever project you're testing on, how do you measure the distance once you've got that dialed in?
Calipers.
Okay.
You can set your
Caliper,
calipers.
something you need to have. Oh,
Absolutely.
okay. Yeah. I stress it all the time. If you're getting into CNC, so IDC Woodcraft provides CNC router bit, and of course teaches on YouTube. And one of the things, if you're doing CNC work, like CNC router, a lot of times, like when I started off, I was just working with a tape measure, and we can't do it with a tape measure. We need to have calipers for a lot of stuff. And now I just learned you have to have calipers for CO2 for lasers as well.
Absolutely.
So Lightburn in and of itself, I mean, it looks very different from what I use, the Vectric software for my router work, but it basically has all the same tools, doesn't it?
It's got a lot of the same tools.
Yeah.
They actually just, I'm going to put this on a black layer just so we can see it. And I'm going to make the black layer line. They just added a new tool not long ago that I really like, the trim tool. It is not quite as good as a trim tool in VCarve, but it is a whole lot better than not having anything. On VCarve, on the trim tool, you can come down here and you can click and drag up and just take everything out that's in that path. And Lightburn, with the trim tool selected, you just have to hover over that line, and then you'll see it turn into a pair of scissors, and you can cut it away.
Huh.
But yeah,
So
a lot of
new
tools
tool.
are. That is a new tool for Lightburn.
Okay. How did you have to do that before?
Well, there is a. Let me put that circle back in there. So you got these two right here. I would highlight both of these, and they have these over here, these welding tools, welding tool paths.
Okay.
You can use those. Sometimes you got to go through each one of them to get exactly what you want. You might get different results depending on which tool you select. Or, and I can't remember if it's like this in VCarve or not, but if you draw a shape out here, that's not a vector yet. That's an object. If we select it, right click on it, convert to path, now it's a vector. Now when I click on it, I can come over here and get my node tool, and I'll have some nodes I can manipulate. These won't do that because they're still objects. I have to select it, convert to path, and then I'll see my nodes.
So everything you draw, you have to select it to turn it into a vector that you can cut, correct?
Right. That's correct.
Okay.
Well, you don't have to turn it into a vector that you can cut. You have to turn it into a vector if you want to edit the nodes.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. But anything you draw, just like all these circles and everything, you originally drew them, you can still select your laser.
You can still cut them, yes.
Okay.
Any of these colors down here, all these are different layers, and you can assign different settings to each layer, except for these last two. If I select a couple of things and I put it on one of these T1 or T2, that's a tool layer. You can see over here, there's no output on a tool layer. It will frame on the material, but it will not mark or cut the material. That's T1 and T2. That's just for alignment tools.
Okay. And you can dictate which lines get cut. What's the proper term to use? Cut, burn, what? When
you see all of these are open, so
Yep.
they would essentially be they're lines, and then you got fills. You fill something, that would be engraving it. If you had it set on line, if you got to set if you got the speed set real fast, it's just going to draw a line on top of the material. But if you slow it down to like an 8 millimeters a second, it's going to cut that whole material out.
Okay. Okay. And folks, I just want to kind of reiterate, or Jack, have you reiterate just something you said in the beginning about safety. What are the materials that someone should never cut on a laser?
Anything vinyl, PVC, ABS, or anything like that has chlorine. There's actually a test you can do to see if it's going to produce chlorine gas. I can take a heavy piece of copper wire, I can heat it with a torch, I can put it to the material that I'm wanting to laser, then I can put it back into that torch, and if the flame of that torch turns green, that's representing chlorine gas, and you do not want to put that in your laser.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Chlorine is extremely toxic. It'll kill you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. More about Lightburn.
All righty.
And then we'll get to some questions.
I guess we all know what the difference between rasters and vectors, don't we? These are now vectors.
Mm-hmm.
This over here is a raster. Yeah. I downloaded this image off of the internet just to draw up my little nozzle demonstration.
Yep. And
the way I got the vector out of that is with the image selected, I right-clicked on it, and I traced image. Lightburn is real good at tracing images. You got this little, you can zoom in on it. You got this little slider right here. You can adjust what it has, the outcome of it. You can click OK.
Oh yeah.
And then drag your vector out. All your vectors will be grouped as soon as you drag them out. So you can either right-click and ungroup, or you can come up here to the toolbar and ungroup it up here. So that's how you would trace a bitmap.
Okay. Yeah. Daniel said the trace in Lightburn is an excellent tool.
I love the trace in Lightburn. It's better.
What makes the tracing tool so good in that? Is it better than the VCarve? Tracing in VCarve?
I like it better than VCarve. I have not actually used trace tool in VCarve a lot because originally, I mean, for decades, I've always used Inkscape. And I came kicking and screaming into Lightburn, and I just got accustomed to Lightburn. It is very accurate on its trace, I can tell you that.
Okay. Okay. All right. We got lots of questions out there, Jack. You wanna hammer into some questions, or would you like to talk a little bit more about Lightburn? I think one of the questions I do have about Lightburn is setting your 0 point, your XY 0 point, right? It's not quite the same as a CNC router generally, right? How
most of them are automatically home.
Okay.
And especially on a one of the diode gantry machines, I know a lot of people say don't move that by hand. Use your jog buttons over here. Highlight your work, set it. You can hit the frame button here, and the laser will frame out where it's going to engrave. Make sure that's within the bounds of your material. And that's pretty much how you would set it, is use your jog buttons. Okay. There is no actual set 0 at this point. You just move the laser to that point, and when you hit start, it's going to go. Okay.
Okay. You just want to make sure your material's under the cut area that it's going to be cutting. And so that's where you use the trace. And so, or what was that? What was that tool that you when the laser bounds? Framing tool. It'll go in low
frame
power.
Tool will outline the frame tool, and this frame, a rubber band frame, will trace out the circles.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, let's get into this. There was a question already. How much does Lightburn cost?
There's 3 different levels. Now, I think they've actually changed, and I'm not sure what the cost is anymore. I've had it for years, and I bought all 3 levels. Used to it was $30 for Gerbil, and it went up. I think it was $60 for Rowita, and then you had to buy it again to get the Galvo. And I'm not exactly sure how much it costs.
Okay, what would you say is a reason for them going up in price on each one?
I don't know why they've done that. They just had it on 3 different tiers. I think somebody said something about them having a basic and a pro version now. They've changed the structure, and when you get it, they do allow you to install it on 3 different computers. But if you send them a nice email, they will give you another one. So you'll actually be able to put it on 4 different computers.
Okay. All right. Let's get some laser questions answered here, and because we're stocked up. And in 20 minutes, we're going to do a giveaway. So we're going to start right off with our man Michael T. Has anyone used the 32-bit open build CNC box? So that's not really that's not really laser related. So as far as I know, I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Michael. Folks, if you can answer this question, let's keep the questions to lasers tonight. And let's see. So that's a CNC related question. He's got a 7-watt laser. This is Mike. He's got his NextWave HD 500 CNC using their 7-watt laser. He'd like to use Lightburn. Do you have any suggestions on how to do this? Where can someone go to start learning how to use the laser software with their CNC machine? I guess, first of all, I know that there's some lasers out there that are not Lightburn compatible. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Those are the 3 boards I showed in that spreadsheet or in that PowerPoint. That's the 3 that are compatible. They're Gerbil, Rowita, and the JZ boards. The JZ boards are for the Galvos. Anything else is not going to be compatible.
Okay, Galvo is the
and I'm not familiar with that CNC he's talking about. If it is Gerbil based, Lightburn will work on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if NextWave is Gerbil based or not. Yeah, I'm not sure. If anybody knows, please put it in the comments. And by the way, folks, in the just put a thumbs up if you're getting something out of this with the laser stuff. And this is going from, this is from Todd. He said, Garrett, I'm beside myself with a 1/2-inch shank ripper. That's a router bit we came out with not so long ago. That's this is actually a test bit. That's all I got here, but it is a roughing bit, and these things are designed to really knock out your runtime by roughing out your material at really high feed rates, really high depths of cut, and large step overs. So Todd, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. All right, and we got let's see, from AZ says, question for me, do I know if the marble file will open and carbide create? You'd have to bring in the SVG file for that. So the marble file, I guess we got a couple questions out there. We released a new router bit, a ball nose down cut end mill, because I got tired of getting all the tear out, and to get a free marble maze with that. And we sent you a ball bearing, and we released that, and we had so many orders, but you get that marble maze with it. Okay, here's a Lightburn question from Chris. It's from Chris. Oh, he's asking Chris. It's Randy. How similar is Lightburn to VCarve Pro? So
it's got a lot of the same tools, but there's got a lot of differences.
Yeah, the VCarve Pro isn't set up for laser. Now I know VCarve or Vectric has a laser module you can get. Have you ever played with that?
No. Actually, I know Longmill offers a 7-watt module for theirs too, and 7 watts is just painfully slow. I would not want to even go with that.
Right. Okay. Randy, to answer your question, my VCarve is really geared towards CNC routers to carve wood and cut with a router, and Lightburn is geared for how would you? It's geared for lasers, but it deals with power settings in the lasers and what have you.
Powers and speeds.
Correct.
Versus speeds and speeds.
Rich is asking if Julianne is going to let me get the new laser. I'm in the doghouse, man. Julianne isn't going to let me buy anything. She says Liberty gets first pick before me. Okay, but maybe you got a laser. So you might be talking about the CNC Labs laser. Well, yeah, I'd buy that one, but they have it'll be the first laser produced in North America at the hobby shop. Well, I talked to them, and it looks like there's some challenges on that. So it is.
Hopefully, they still got me in mind. I'm supposed to be a beta tester on that one.
Okay. All right. You got to give them a call. I'm not sure. I think there's some delays on that. Okay. From Bubba, I got one question. Can you align the laser to the project you just carved on your CNC if the laser is mounted on the CNC router, and can it be aligned correctly for the project?
Yeah, you can do the offset. You can measure the offset, and
yeah, I guess. Go ahead.
I got a Bible. I do the open book model in V-carve. I carve the Bibles. Well, when I get done carving it, I'll take that. You got to make your vectors around your pages so you can get the words to wrap to the page. I'll take those same vectors. I'll bring them over here into Lightburn, and I'll bring my Bible in here and put it on the laser, and I'll let the laser engrave it. And it's real easy to line those up with the laser. Just follow those vectors on the edge of the pages, and it's real easy to line that up. I've actually got a video on that on my website, on my YouTube.
Yeah. Bubba, one of the things, if you have a laser mounted to the CNC router, you do need to know the distance from the spindle center to the laser center. And then you can offset it. You can actually put a command in your console. You can, if you know it's going to be 100 millimeters or 4 inches, you can put a command in the console after you've done your carving to do a move of 4 millimeters and then reset your whichever way you moved it. If you moved it in the X direction, then you can just reset your X0. But you want to definitely make sure that you use the module where you type in like a G0, G20, which you're saying you're going rapid. Your G20 is saying you're going in inches. Then you type in your move, which would be X4 point, and that would move 4 inches in the X direction. So that's how I would handle that one. I'm not sure if there's some kind of feature in some of the software, that the control software, meaning like GSend or UGS, where to have a natural type of offset. You can pick laser and it'll naturally know the change in position. Here's one for you from Lonnie. Will Lightburn work with UC CNC?
I don't.
I think that's control software. I think that's control software. I think that's a Gerbil-based software. And I believe it's a control software for a CNC router. So if it is a Gerbil-based control software,
control software is in. So because Lightburn is a CAD CAM in itself.
Say again.
Lightburn is CAD CAM in itself. So with that, what was that? UNCNC is that software?
UC, yes, UCCNC.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. So
yeah, I think that's a control software, or I mean, I can look it up, but I'll look it up here in a minute. So we got Jim, who says he's currently running a 150 watts CO2. Minimum power is fine. To fire is 10%, approximately 15 watts. Is it possible to do photo carves in wood? Struggling with this. So first of all, minimum power to fire, what does that mean?
CO2 will not fire. I think mine's 10 as well. If you try to set your settings lower than 10% power, a CO2 will not fire any less than that. It just won't. The power supply will not even kick on at that amount. It has to be above 10%. But it actually depends on what material you're trying to engrave on, because all woods act differently. When you're engraving, nothing is going to beat your material tests. Every different species of wood, every different piece of material you plan to engrave, you have to do your material tests on that particular material. And that's going to give you a grid and let you see how dark each setting is going to make that material.
Okay.
So you'd have to do your material settings on that.
Gotcha. Okay. One of the things I've seen people do is when they get a machine, they'll make a sample at different power levels. So like maybe
That's
a star.
exactly right.
Is that something that someone should do whenever they get a laser?
On everything. If I packed my laser up and I sent it to your house, the same settings will not work. They won't be exact. They can get you in the ballpark, but the atmosphere, the temperatures, your ambient temperatures, your conditions, all that will change the way that laser will perform.
Okay. All right. And so so are there files that some people can get to actually do that burn test? And folks, what I'm talking about is you maybe have 20 stars just drawn out in vectors, and each star will be at a different power level, so you can see how it's cutting on that material at that level. Is that a good way to explain that?
Sure. If you want to share my screen again, I can show you where that's at.
Yeah.
All right, up here in the top, we got laser tools. And if you come down, you got material tests. And that's going to pop that up. You can tell it how many squares you want in each direction. And pick your parameters here. I want to start at my speeds, 10 millimeters a second. If you're going to do a test for an engrave, I'd start about 100 millimeters a second. And the maximum, I'd go all the way up to 400 millimeters a second. For power, for an engrave, I'd start about 40% power. I want a CO2, and maximum 60%. I don't want to go anywhere over 60% on power, and that will give you your material test, and you can frame it out. And that's how you do all your material tests right here in Lightburn.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, and so you should do that for everything, and whenever you're moving a machine, you should do that. Okay. All right. Wow, folks, we got 45 questions here. I know we're not going to be. That's going to be tough to get through. All right, so I'm going to bring you back online here, Jack. So when products, how do you translate the percentage settings from one power of laser to another, since mine doesn't do millimeters per second?
Okay, that's easy too. Bring my screen back up and I'll show you where that's at.
Okay.
Up here with these two little gears right here, you can click that, and that's your general Lightburn settings. You can come over here to the units and grids tab, and you can change that right here. You can go from millimeters a second, millimeters a minute, inches a second, inches a minute, and that's where you set that right there.
All right.
There's another thing to consider right here. I like this right here, the shape move increments. If you can use your arrow keys to move your shapes around, but if you hold your control key and then move your arrow key, it's going to move at a different speed. Then if you hold your shift key and use your arrow key, it's going to move at a different speed. And right here is how you set those speeds right here. Just the plain arrow will move at this percentage, the control arrow at that percentage, and your shift arrow at that percentage.
Okay.
So you can dial that in pretty
the arrow key. Yeah, that's kind of like the V-carve software. You can select a vector and you use your arrow keys and you can nudge it around a bit.
Yeah,
All right,
and
cool.
this you
Great.
define how far it's going to move.
Yeah, about 5 minutes. We're going to do our giveaway that we do every Wednesday, and we have a special giveaway today. Let's do absolute best custom wood products. And his question is, I understand that Lightburn has a trace tool. If so, once an image is traced, will it save in a file format that can also be used in VCarve Pro 11.5?
Yes.
So what do they have to do?
That's easy enough. Once you've saved it, all you got to do is hit the file and export it
Okay.
to an SVG.
Save it as an SVG and then import that in the Vectric.
Yep.
Okay.
You can do DXF too, but I mean,
there you go. All right, SVG is easier. It just works better. DXF does a lot of little tiny lines. All right, MP, do you have a special software to run laser? Well, we've been talking about the Lightburn software, but so Lightburn is not compatible with everything, or everything is not compatible with Lightburn. So when you buy a machine, I did not realize this when I got my first little tiny 40 water. There's a little tabletop model. It was not Lightburn compatible, so it never got used. Matter of fact, I've been sitting on it and debating just throwing the darn thing away because I'll never use it ever. Maybe we should do that as a giveaway.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll have to do that one of these times. All right, I won't throw it away. All right, Eldon, his question: as someone with experience and knowledge, what type of laser would you recommend for his Onefinity Elite Foreman? So the Onefinity is a CNC router, and he wants to mount a laser on there.
I think they're specific to the controller.
Yeah.
I know CNC Labs offers theirs, and it's compatible with the longboard. I'm pretty sure Onefinity has one as well.
Yeah. Now, you can't mount a CO2 laser on a CNC router.
Well, right, you can, but it's going to take some heavy modification.
Takes a lot of work, yeah. So CO2, you saw that earlier, there's a long tube that you have, and the laser beam comes out of the tube, and then they use mirrors to redirect that beam. So they'll move it forward, and then they got another one to bring it over the gantry, and then they got another one to turn it downwards to the laser head, to the lens. Is that correct?
To the lens. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I guess it's about, no, not quite 9 o'clock. We'll do a giveaway in just a little bit. Oh, here's a different one from Jim. What 3D printer is best for the money, Jack? Since you do 3D printing.
Best for the money? I mean, you can get some real cheap. I mean, Ender 3 is real cheap. I got my first Ender 3 for $150. But I've got 2 of them sitting over here that never get used anymore. I would really, really suggest save up your money and look at Bamboo Labs. If nothing else, the P1S, you can get that for like $600. They're awesome machines. You cannot beat the X1C though.
Okay. Bamboo
That's
Labs.
assuming you want to do filament printing and not resin printing.
Okay. Do they make the X1C?
Yes, Bamboo Labs makes the X1C.
Okay. All right. Okay. Bamboo Labs, X1C unit. And we'll do one more. Let's see. Question: to add a laser to my Shark CNC, that's a CNC router, is it required to remove my spindle, or can a laser be added to it? So if they don't have a laser attachment bracket for it, then I would call them and ask them, if you're going to modify a machine, you may want to ask the company, what is the best way that they recommend to modify your CNC router? And if you have a certain one and you want to put a laser on it, like the Onefinity, the best thing to do is ask the company. Ask the company that makes the machine, and they'll give you the best advice. But if companies have, like the CNC Labs, they have their little diode laser that you can get with it. They have a bracket with it. So if the company's offering it, then they probably support it on the CNC router. Can Lightburn be used for both a diode and galvo lasers?
Yes.
So we covered that. You have to buy a different module, Lightburn module, right?
The different tier of their license, yes.
Okay. All right. So it looks like so it's a different tier. So the first tier is going to be for your diodes. The second tier will do diodes and CO2, and the third tier will do diodes, CO2, and fiber. Okay. So I've never heard it called galvo before. So
that describes the head that scans the laser back and forth.
Okay. All right. So, Jack, it is 9 o'clock, folks. We're going to do a little giveaway. So I'm going to switch off the questions here, and we're going to bring Julianne up. I guess we've lost Liberty. Julianne,
she is having, yeah, Liberty was having a few technical difficulties. Yeah.
Yeah, I see her popping. Yeah, her screen popping in and out, so I can tell it's having some difficulties.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, we are on our regular CNC Wednesday evening hangout that we do here at IDC Woodcraft every week. And we bring on special knowledge experts like Jack with the lasers. He's also got a lot of expertise in other things. We might have to bring you on for 3D printers too. And we'll have to bring you on how to convert your CNC router to a plasma cutter, or talk about plasma cutters. Anyway, every Wednesday now we do a giveaway. And so Julianne and Liberty, unfortunately, we've lost Liberty at the moment. So Julianne now takes the floor to tell us about what this giveaway is. And for the next 5 to 10 minutes, she's in command. Julianne, the stage is yours.
Whoop, whoop. All right, everybody. So this week, Jack has been very generous, and our giveaway is actually, what is it, a pair of clamps? How would we word this?
One set of CNC work hold clamps.
One set of CNC work hold clamps. Awesome. All right. So to enter this giveaway, you're going to pop into our lovely YouTube chat. You will enter the code that I'm about to place on the screen into the chat. You only have to enter it once because it will only count you once. So I'm about to throw it up here.
So Jack, while they're doing that, talk to them about the clamps. Liberty, we see you trying to get on board. So talk about the clamps, Jack.
These are some clamps that I designed in Fusion 360, and I 3D printed them on my Bamboo X1C. They're set up to register into a grid of 2-inch holes into your spoil board. When you're prepping your spoil board, I highly recommend the lightning bit from IDC Woodcraft.
Yeah. So you have holes, 1/4-inch holes in your you drill 1/4-inch holes in your spoil board, 2 inches on a 2-inch grid, and the pins are exactly 2-inch. Now these clamps, they're toe clamps, right? But they're angled toe clamps. So what that means is, Julianne, will you just maximize our screen real quick?
Yeah. Let me see. Hold on.
Yep, folks, just put in that code that you see going across the screen. Just bring us up a little bit so I can show them what a toe clamp does, or explain it to them.
Let's see.
Or if you need to leave it up. Okay, you're just gonna see a little
trying to
picture.
get our screen maneuvered here, but hold on.
That's okay. That's okay.
Here we go.
So okay. Yeah. So a toe clamp, there is a top clamp, there's a toe clamp, and there's a cam clamp. And so what Jack has are toe clamps. And the toe clamps have 2 pins. You drill holes in your spoil board, and you drill it on a 2-inch grid all the way around the spoil board. I did that on my lawnmower. And then you drop that in, and you screw the screw. And what it does is it pushes a wedge at an angle into the material, and it clamps it from the side. So a toe clamp keeps the top of your surface clear. And so Jack, can you bring Jack up so he can show them the clamp again?
Yeah.
There you go.
Here's the clamp. I designed a thumb screw for the back, and I gave it 2 3/4 inches of travel. So you have plenty of travel to register from a couple of different sets of holes in your spoil board.
Yeah, I wish I was at my long mill right now. I would demonstrate how these things work. So, Jack, you have these available too as well, folks. Liberty is still challenged to get on board, but these are her favorite clamps to use on the CNC because they're. I like to call them speed clamps because when you put your material down, you literally just drop the clamp down in the hole, and you've positioned your clamp, and all you have to do is turn the screw to wedge it against your material. And I've used an L stop on it. And that's most of the time how I use it. So I'll have a fence or an L stop, and I'll have the clamp on the other side and just drive it in. And Jack, you've got these on Etsy, correct?
I do.
And I'll throw that link in after we get everybody's entries going.
Okay. Can you link it on the?
It's in the description of the video.
Okay, in the description of the video. So. Yeah. So you're getting 2 of these clamps. That's our giveaway today, and we'll tell you how to get them when we're done. So usually we'll give away CNC router bits or something to that effect, and it's always up to the ladies as to what we decide to give away. Jack makes these clamps, yes?
Yes.
And they will be shipped to you by Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Jack. Yep. And Jack, let's see. This Jack said that is only 120 likes, and we have 450 people on the channel right now. Give it a thumbs up. Give a thumbs up, folks. We do this every Wednesday. We spend 2 hours at this, hour and a half to 2 hours at it. And take a minute to hit the thumbs up button. Andrew is waving his hand. Hello. We are in the middle of a giveaway. If you just popped in, we are talking with Jack Marie, who is known as Jack in the Shop on this channel. He joins us religiously every Wednesday. The guy is clearly an expert with this Lightburn software and just gets his hands dirty in all kinds of CNC stuff. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, we can get the thumbs up emoji too, but hit the thumbs up button under the video itself, all right? Because that's how YouTube sees the algorithms for this stuff. And
all right, I'm gonna let it go for 1 more minute. If you haven't already typed that in the chat, so type it in.
Yeah, if you have not typed this code in the chat, you got 1 more minute. It takes when all these when this hashtag gets in there and everybody's typing it in, it just there's a little bit of a delay for it all to get in at one time.
Let's see. Robert H asked if there's a T-track option for the clamps.
I have seen people use their T-bolts for these, so they do work on the T-tracks, but I do not have a T-track option.
Gotcha.
Okay, you might want to consider that. We're getting ready to inventory T-tracks as well. So I've worked with a couple manufacturers, and finally I designed them out. So the T-tracks that I have designed from IDC Woodcraft, they are made custom for us, will fit both the 5/16 bolts and the 1/4-inch bolt, and it'll fit the T-bolts and the hex head bolts. Right, so it's you're not stuck with having to buy those really long T-bolts. You can actually use hex head bolts on your clamps and get lower profile. All right, Julianne, are you ready to rock and roll with this?
I'm ready if you're ready. All right.
All right, here we go. Let's see who's going to win these clamps. This is totally random. We have no control over this at this point. It's kind of cool to watch your name go flying through. And we got to wait for, there's a winner, Van Phillips. Woo, Van, give you the happy dance. Very cool. Very cool. Van, congratulations.
All right.
So-
So to get your lovely clamps, after I write your name down, of course. All right.
Right,
What you're going to
okay.
do is actually email Garrett at idcwoodcraft.com, that specific email address, and then you can put in the subject line Wednesday winner or I won, or you have the option of going to the IDC Woodcraft website and hitting the contact us button, and then same deal, Wednesday winner. And then I will take that information and pass it along to Jack, and we'll get you your clamps.
Woohoo!
I'll
Super,
get them in
super
the mail as
cool.
soon as I get that address.
Yep. Just send us
Yep.
your
All
address.
right.
We'll get you
Yep.
going.
Email.
So.
Email at garrett@idcwoodcraft.com. Hey, Julianne, just do the banner where it needs to email it at. Or you can go to the idcwoodcraft.com website and contact us and say whatever she said. I won, right? Wednesday, I won, right? And we'll get that information. One more draw. Somebody, Forvo was asking, one more draw. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
There we
All
go.
right. Let's.
There's the email address at the bottom of the screen. So.
Okay. That's how you'll email us, and then we'll get that information to Jack, and we'll get your clamps shipped out to you. Super, super cool. You're gonna love them. Now you do need to drill a hole. There's holes in your spoil board, and you want to make sure they're accurate because you're using pins, locating pins. All right. And so Jack was commenting about the IDC Woodcraft lightning bit. Julianne, throw that drill bit in the link as well.
Okay.
So
Absolutely. Do not use a 1/4 inch end mill to drill those holes.
Okay. Use 1/4 inch end mill too. You need to use, don't drill with a down cut. Don't use a down cut.
Don't use an end mill.
Never drill.
And I'm also throwing in the link for those of you that did not win. I am throwing in the link for where you can purchase Jack's clamps. So that's going in the chat too now.
That right there is the bit I use to prep my board.
Yep, right there. I'll put a link for that too. Since I got it, Julianne, I'll throw this link in there.
Works for me.
So these drill bits, just so you know, these drill bits, I've had them designed specifically for CNC routers. They're solid carbide, and I've had the angles, the ends of them ground. There's like a double bevel on them, and they come to a very tight point, so they don't have any run out. And you can run the 1/4 inch at 12,000 RPM at a what was my feed rate on that? 50 inches per minute plunge. It's a second a hole for a 1 inch hole. So anyway, yeah. So if you want to make cribbage boards, we got that in the 1/8 inch drill bit too. All right, very cool. Congratulations, Van. All right, we are going to get back to laser questions. Let's do it. All right, thanks, Julianne. All right. I was asked about the Monport laser. I still have it. Julianne and Liberty are going to be playing with it. I just never really got around to it. I guess a part of it was because I was a little intimidated by lasers. Right? Even me. I'm a CNC router, not an expert, but lasers, I guess it's time to dive in. So Randy said, Garrett, you and I have VCarve Pro. So what's the learning curve to go into Lightburn? Jack, can you please answer that? You can stop the banner, Julianne.
I guess it'll be different for everyone. VCarve Pro is super easy for me to use, and so is Lightburn. Some people think lasers are easier. Some people think CNCs are easier. It's really a tough question to answer. It's not difficult at all as long as you go in with your material tests. You understand that you're going to have to spend some time learning some new techniques, and just spend a little time with it. It's not difficult at all.
What's the biggest part of the learning curve with laser, with Lightburn? Is it or with lasers in general?
Focusing.
Okay, that's the biggest challenge, biggest thing you need to learn. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just make sure you get the focusing right. because I mean we're CNCers, and everybody in here should be CNCers. We're already used to our speeds and stuff. We know how to dial those in. Focusing will be the focusing and understanding that different materials are going to need different settings.
Okay. I'm going to bring your screen back up for a minute, Jack. Just because, so Lightburn in general, the drawing tools are pretty much, they do pretty much the same thing in VCarve that VCarve does. It's configured a little bit differently. Your drawing tools are all on the left there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it's just learning where they're at. And then I guess you can place stuff specifically if you need to. Is that correct too?
That's correct. You can break your vectors apart just like you would in VCarve and join them back together. A lot of the tools do mirror each other.
Okay. It's just wherever they're placed at. All right. I'm going to bring the screen back down. Brooks said his laser glasses are orange. That came with his laser.
There are different colors.
So
you just need to make sure they are rated for the wavelength of the laser that you own.
Okay. Okay. So will the laser itself be marked for the wavelength, or is it just kind of
They're pretty much standard. All your diodes are going to be 450 nanometers. All of your fibers are going to be 1064s. All of your CO2s are going to be 10,600.
Okay. So the importance is making sure the glasses are rated for whatever you're doing. Someone said, Jack, absolute best custom wood products, asked where you're located.
Dallas, North Carolina.
Okay. Scott is saying, I've yet to purchase CNC machine. I've researched several. Garrett has pretty much sold me on the alt mill. My question is, how well does the newer touch screen computer perform? Oh, that's a CNC router related question for that specific machine. I am waiting on my touch screen, so I can't answer that question. All right, here's a good one from John. What to use for slate material as far as laser?
All three of them. You're going to get your best looking engrave, in my opinion, out of the diode. The diode has a much smaller dot size. You can get higher resolution out of the diode laser, but the fiber laser can do them extremely fast. But a CO2 can engrave slate too.
Okay. So what would be the difference between the three as far as speed or what accuracy, cleanliness of cut, or?
Well, slate is going to make a mess. I just finished 400 slate coasters. I've got slate dust all over my fiber laser. It does make a mess. You need a good exhaust fan to get the fumes and the dust away from the lenses.
Okay, so basically when it's hitting slate, it's blasting the slate? Is that what it's doing? Like vaporizing the slate? Okay.
Removing that top layer, just ablating it away.
Okay. Shannon is saying, will the Raleigh Laser Metric MK2 work on slate coasters?
Yes, it will. Lasermatic.
Okay. I'd love to see.
Lasermatic is a Cadillac of diode lasers.
Oh, is it? Okay. Lasermatic. I'll have to bring that up and take a look at that. Brooks is asking, what are the highs for the LED, CO2, and fiber lasers? My 7-watt laser is fixed to 0.125, the heights. So I guess he's meaning. So that depends on, so I guess he's talking about the gap distance.
Yeah, of course, most all of your gantry lasers have a little lever you can flip up, and you can raise the laser module so you can get thicker material under there. That's one reason I do like the open frame, because you can stand it up on stilts and you can put deep material under it. That's the only thing I don't like about the Raleigh Lasermatic. It's enclosed, and I think it limits you just a little bit. But with the open frame, you've got to be cautious of the fumes and the smoke that's going to produce, because it's an open frame. So, I mean, there's gives and takes there.
So in one way or another, with lasers, you have to have ventilation.
You've got to have ventilation, yes.
Okay. So that's one of the safety concerns. The other safety concern is they're so bright they can burn, hurt the eyes. We talked about vinyl. Everyone you cut basically polycarbonates, right? Plastics, something like that. What are some of the other concerns with laser safety factors?
Reflective materials. I hear this a lot. I wasn't wearing my glasses, but I wasn't looking directly at the laser. That's not the way light works. Light bounces off a reflective material. It's going to fill the room. You really need to make sure you wear your glasses. Just because you're not looking directly at it, don't mean it will not affect you.
Okay, good one. So let's see. Mark, he asked about slate as well. I guess slate's a fairly popular material, isn't it?
I do slate coasters. I got some large slates you hang on the wall I've done for people. Yeah. I like to clear coat the slate and then put it under the laser to give you better contrast.
All right. Renegade Biker said, how much money are those lasers? Can they be found on Amazon?
Absolutely. They're all over Amazon.
Yeah. And lasers are, they range all over the place.
They start at 200 and go up to 20,000.
Yeah. I will preach what I always preach when it comes to buying a machine. If you can't get support from the company, you're kind of wasting your time. If something goes wrong with it, you can't get hold of the company. You've kind of turned it into a paperweight. All right. You always want support for a CNC machine because it's a machine. So the really inexpensive ones, you're not going to have support. That's the thing with Amazon is you can't always get the support. You can return it to Amazon for a limited time, and they'll take them back. But there's nothing more frustrating than getting a piece of equipment. I bought a cheap laser off of Amazon and was missing a part. All right, I think I paid $100, and I didn't want to go through the hassle of returning it. Julianne, this was before you. Otherwise, she would have made me return it, and I just threw the darn thing away. Right, so I just threw away $100 because of one missing part. It was that frustrating. Brooks said, "What if you put a black material behind your clear materials?" I guess if he's
that's one way you can use a diode laser to. What it's doing is the diode will go through the clear material, like your clear acrylics. It will hit that black tape and it will flash back onto the acrylic. So when you're doing that, you have to make sure to invert your image.
So you're reversing the image. Okay. Cool. I'll try that. All right, Dan. Would an auto darkening welding helmet protect someone from a laser?
No. It will protect you from the bright light of the laser interacting with the material, but it will not protect you from the wavelength of light coming out of the laser head.
Okay. Huh. That's it. Howard said, is there a chart that explains the nanometers and the material it will cut? So there's some kind of reference chart that people can find.
I'm sure there are. Let's see. Laser Everything. That's a YouTube channel. They also have a Discord group, a Discord server. I am a moderator on that Discord server. I know there's one on that Discord server. I'm also a moderator at the Laser Engraving Community Facebook page. That's the Clack Shack Inventories Workshops. That's their Facebook group. I am a moderator there, so I'm there too. And I know there's some information on there for that.
All right, we'll link those down in the description. So, and yeah, if you hook up with a laser group, I'm sure you can ask, and you will find somebody that may have that. So a lot of times in Facebook, people share files, and so you can find those files there, or just ask questions and there, or like Discord. All right, Giles. It says, any do's and don'ts when choosing a laser to cut plywood or engrave hardwood?
Plywoods sometimes can be really sketchy. The big box stores have something known as revolutionary ply, and that can have voids and air pockets. And when your laser goes over that air pocket, it can catch on fire. So you really got to be mindful of that.
So,
Not saying you can't do it, but just keep an eye on it.
Okay, so what kind of plywood is best for lasers? That
I use
would have
basswood.
that?
I use Baltic birch. I use Luan.
Okay, yeah, Luan is cheap and easy.
Yeah.
And I've seen plywood. I've seen like 1/4 inch ply is like 9 ply or 6 ply. Where can
The
people
more
find
plies
that?
you get, the harder you're going to have time to get through it, because you're going to have inconsistencies, like you have a denser spot with there's more glue or stuff like that. So the more plies you get, the harder it's going to be. You might have to take a couple of passes.
Okay. Now, where do you find wood like that?
I get most of my stuff from Amazon. My hardwoods, I try to stay local. There's a great little spot right here in Hickory, North Carolina, where I get all my exotic woods. I try my best to stay local before I outsource to somewhere else. But Oak Couche Hardwoods, they have plywood and hardwoods. That's an online store. It's a family-run store. You can go up there right now and get a $20 seconds box. And it's got all kinds of different thicknesses and different species, and that'll give you a good test box to play with.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Ed is saying he wants to engrave black powder coated aluminum panels. What laser head do I use on a CNC? So I'm assuming he's talking CNC router.
Well, the only laser that you can get to attach to a CNC is going to be a diode. And it will do powder coated aluminum because you're just taking the paint off the aluminum. So that's pretty easy.
Is there like a minimum power level for the diode that you would recommend?
A minimum, as far as a diode laser, especially a 7-watt, I'd run it 100% all the time and just change the speed for the different materials. If you want to cut through it, slow it down. You just want to engrave, speed it up.
Okay. Cool. And then Brooks has said, let's see, and all your burns, Jack, single passes or multiple passes? Oh, he's asking if your burns are single or multiple.
Well, that depends. My diode laser, when I'm making coasters out of hardwood, I'll usually take 3 passes to cut through something. As far as the speed on my diode laser, I would not go any less than like 8 millimeters a second. If it didn't cut through on 8 millimeters a second, just add another pass.
Okay. Shannon, 8 millimeters, by the way, is that's a little over 1/4 inch. More like I'm not sure how I would put that at too, but 764, something like that. Okay, Shannon, any good sites or places any of you get your plywood and other materials for laser? So we just talked about that one. And Scott is saying, how well does the laser attachment for the alt mill perform? I don't know. I don't have it.
I know it's a 7-watt module, so it's going to be slow.
Yeah, there you go. So I don't know how well it attaches. I didn't buy the laser attachment for the alt mill, so I can't answer that question. And Matthew is saying, can VCarve Pro laser add-on run on JTAC? You would have to ask Vectric about that, or JTAC, I would guess. Or do you know, Jack?
If you're using VCarve now, yes, it will.
Okay. What is JTAC?
I don't know what JTAC is, but if you're using VCarve, the laser add-on will work. Because
Okay.
I mean, that's all going to be handled in the post processor.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, so it's the yep. If you're using VCarve for JTech, okay, yes. I guess JTech is it's a CNC router. Yep, it's a post processor. Thank you, Jack, for clearing that one up. Brooks is saying, Jack, you have tried the Vectric laser module tools, have you?
I have not.
No. Okay. So can't answer there. I don't know anybody's used that yet. Although there was a comment in there that somebody I think had it. Maybe I'll have to try to get it. Eddie, yes, water cooled spindle. Do I need to remove the spindle, or is there a laser that will work on the with the spindle? You can check with the company that you have got your machine from and see if they have a mounting bracket for a laser, and if they have a laser for that mounting bracket. And then also, can the control support the laser? All right, so I know in the long mill there's a little bit of wiring or something I had to do to make it work. I had to add on the little power pack to it or something to that effect. All right, so Ed is saying, if Jack has time, I'd be interested in hearing about his CNC experience in plasma cutting. How does you use Vectric in design setting toolpaths and post processor? Any special concerns in the setup? So, folks, Jack has converted his CNC router to a plasma cutter.
It's pretty straightforward. I just make the material super thin before I start the design, and that way it don't plunge. I will slow the plunge rate down a whole lot. I built a special plasma tool in the tool library where I've slowed the plunge rate down super slow, so as the Z is coming down, the torch is kicking on, and then it goes around and starts cutting. So the plunge rate's really important for that.
All right. So you were a lineman, right? And so what you've done, you've taken those saws and you've plasma lineman stuff into that. Is that on your Etsy store?
It
is.
is.
Do you sell those? Okay.
Yes. Most of the stuff I have on my Etsy store is geared towards linemen. So.
Okay.
Most
Julianne, link is Etsy store in there. Folks, you got to take a look at some of the stuff. It's really cool. So definitely check out his Etsy store. Okay, so Sean, can you use a laser on plexiglass?
I have not tested that yet. I would absolutely do the test with the take a heavy piece of copper, heat it up with a torch, put it to the material, bring it back into the torch. If that flame turns green, do not put it under the laser. Some people says plexiglass is the same thing as acrylic. Now, it will do acrylic just fine. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Folks, do your due diligence, do research online too, to make sure. Just make sure. The last thing you want is to get chlorine gas in your house. Okay, so Forvo, is there a Lightburn professional certification?
Not that I'm aware. I don't know. Have to ask Jason.
You can check. Yeah, Forvo, you can ask Lightburn about that. I think somebody asked, is there any training out there for Lightburn, like a course? Like we have Kyle Ely that teaches Vectric.
Laser Everything has the Laserburn crash course. That's an excellent resource. And of course, like I said, they got the Discord server, Laser Everything Discord server. I am a moderator over there, so I'm in there all the time. And there's a ton of highly professional guys on there, knows everything laser.
Okay. Giles is saying, can you fine tune the vector like you can in VCarve? Or
yes.
I'm assuming he's talking about VCarve. Okay.
Yes, you can edit the nodes the same way you can in VCarve.
Okay. All right. Jim says, are the lenses adjustable, or do you need a separate lens for each focal length?
Well, the lens is the focal length. On a diode laser, they're all fixed, so you cannot change those lenses. There is a lens protector on the bottom that you can take off and clean, but the actual focusing lens is fixed. On the CO2, there's like 4 different lenses you can purchase. They range from 2 inches all the way up to 4 inches. And on the fiber laser, there's a ton of different lenses you can buy. I've got a 70 millimeter lens, and that goes all the way up to a 300 millimeter lens. But you have to have a really tall tower for that one.
Okay, so the lenses are basically fixed then.
On the diode, yes.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things I'm seeing a trend here is so people wanting to mount a laser on their CNC router. And I saw another comment in there. Someone said it's better to have separate machines. What is your
I'm
thought
more
on
with
that?
that school of thought. I would much rather have a separate machine. Any laser you get to put on a CNC is going to be a 7-watt module, and that's just not enough power for me. It's super slow. 10-watt bare minimum entry level for me. I would much rather have a 20-watt diode laser.
Okay. Edward is asking about the levels. Do you need to have each level saved separately on a thumb drive?
No. You're talking about the different layers.
Like the tool
They're
path.
all in the same file.
Okay, so
all be
it'll
in that one
self-adjust the laser power.
It'll finish
to
one layer, then it drops down to the next layer until it gets all the way through them.
Okay. All right. So Richard says he has Onefinity, and they offer JTech laser. Is JTech a good brand?
I really don't know.
Okay. Onefinity should support whatever they have. I don't know, but you can go to JTech's Facebook group and ask in there what people think about it. That's one way to do. Go to a general review site. You can look at the website, but on this end, we can control the reviews that go on the site. So you can like go to Amazon or something like that. So you can find a general review area and ask about that. Gents, I have a CNC long mill MK2 48 by 30. Should I go with their laser or someone else? He plans on using Lightburn, Robert.
If you're going to mount it to that machine, I'd go with theirs.
Okay. And Thomas is, we're pounding through the questions. He has a DWC 22440 CNC machine with Vectric software and Planet CNC processor. Do I need a separate processor, or will my laser run on what I have? So I guess he's talking about a post processor, or
they
the
will run
controller.
on the same post processor.
Okay. This might be a
by the
controller.
controller, not the modules.
Yeah, it's post processor that drives it. So, all right. So Danny is saying, Garrett, I'm going to the Toronto Woodworking Show this weekend, and CNC will have a booth there. Is there anything specific you'd like me to ask them? You can just go up and give them a kiss on the cheeks and say, Garrett said hello.
Ask them where they're at on the Ultra Beam. That's their new CO2
Yeah.
they're coming out with.
Yeah, definitely want to see what's going on with that Ultra Beam. I think there is a delay on that, unfortunately, but I'm not sure if that delay is indefinite at this point.
I haven't spoke with Akena in quite a while, so I might reach out to him.
Yeah, Jim is, if you've covered this already, sorry, was distracted, but what kinds of fire safety precautions do you really need? Is the risk of full-blown fire really that high? So that's a good question. We haven't addressed actually fire risk.
We touched on it a little bit with the voids and some of the cheaper plywoods. The CNC lasers the CO2 lasers and the diode lasers normally have a honeycomb bed under the material. That bed needs to be raised up a bit so the air can flow through it. But after you've cut on it for so many times, those beds will start to turn black. That black is residue from cutting wood, and it is flammable, and they absolutely need to be cleaned periodically with LA Awesome or an oven cleaner or something. You got to keep them clean because there is a big fire risk there. That's why you never leave your machine unattended.
Okay, yeah, I would say and keep the fire extinguisher. Fire safety is definitely higher on that. Okay, great question. I'm glad that was brought up.
I will say this too: don't put your fire extinguisher right beside your laser. If your laser's on fire, you're going to have a hard time getting to it. Keep it away from the laser just a little bit.
Right. All right. Greg is saying, wondering if you have tips on how to find the XY position on the engraver. So we did talk about that earlier before this question, but so maybe we can cover that again.
Pretty much the laser is going to be extremely close to the material. So you got your gauge to set the Z. All of them will come with that little acrylic gauge. I don't have one in front of me, but the fiber layers, they come with a focal stick. But you put, right over your material is where, when you hit the start button, when you move that laser over the material, that's where it's going to start. So there's no actual way to say 0 right here. You just set it there, and that's where it's going to start.
And Chris is saying, what controller does the UCNC use?
That was a question about the earlier question.
Yeah, UCCNC, I think he's talking about. Okay, so Scott, let's see. Shop is in the garage. Does the weather affect the laser?
Slightly, yes. Not too much. You'll have to get the extreme cold before you see a noticeable difference in the diode. It will affect it a little bit as far as your settings, but you'll still be ballparked.
Okay. So humidity doesn't have much of an effect on the laser itself?
Not the laser. You don't want a bunch of humidity getting condensation stuff getting all over the control boards and stuff, the circuit boards.
Okay. Here's an interesting question from MJ Jensen. What do you think about baking soda and boric acid washes to darken the engraving?
I've never had any luck with that. I've tried the baking sodas. I've tried the boraxes. Supposedly, that is going to give you a darker engrave. What I find to give you the best result is to slow it down a little bit and defocus. When I showed that image a while ago, I was showing the focus, where you focus your material. If you bring it down just a little bit, where that beam's just a little bit wider, that will give you a darker burn. Just a couple of millimeters makes a difference.
So what does baking? What's the theory here? You put baking soda and boric acid on top of the material?
You're supposed to mix it with water and spray it on the material and let it dry. And the laser is supposed to react with the baking soda to give you a darker burn. But I've never had any luck with it myself. And I spoke to a lot of people on a different, like I say, I'm a part of a bunch of different forums. A lot of people have some people say that it works. A lot of people says it don't.
Interesting. That's really interesting. We're going to handle a couple more questions and we're going to knock off. So let's see, we just got that one. Richard, do you need to run a laser with a certain room temperature range? So we just covered that. The temperature doesn't really matter. Right?
Yeah, the only thing you got to worry about there is your CO2 temperature, because that's going to heat up due to the firing of the laser, and that comes with a chiller.
Okay. What do you recommend for a coolant in a CO2 laser?
I run distilled water. I've got mine here in the basement. It's not going to freeze. There's been some debate back and forth on running RV antifreeze. If there's any possibility that it can track electricity, because that glass tube back there has got 2,000 volts running through it. So if that antifreeze running through there will track that electricity, it could cause a problem, but a lot of people are still using it. But as far as me, I just run distilled water and just a little bit of algicide to keep anything from growing in your tubes.
So the algicide, you can get that from like fish tanks. It's the same kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
Or from Amazon. Okay, algicide. WXX if you're cutting fabric, would it be good to wet the fabric to cut it to reduce the possibility of fire?
I've never tried wetting the fabric. I just take with a high speed, and I've never had an issue so far.
All right, that's interesting. I would love to see how that works out. Okay, so we're going to say, Gary, if you want to engrave on a round tumbler, do you use a Z setting or do you need a rotary of some sort?
All right. I guess the week before Christmas, I've done like 200 tumblers. I've done them all on my CO2. I had them setting on a rotary, but my rotary is not plugged up in that CO2. I measure the curve of that tumbler where my engrave is going to fall on the edge of that tumbler and where it's going to fall on top of that tumbler. I'll split the difference, and then I'll focus halfway down, and I just run everything straight across. Lightburn actually has curve correction, and as long as you're not doing a full wrap, you can get a pretty broad engrave without using a rotary.
Okay. Would you recommend using a rotary?
I mean, I've got a rotary from a fiber laser, and I hardly ever use it.
Okay.
If I'm going to do a full wrap, I'll use it, but that's it.
Okay. Okay. And then we'll do Dale, and we'll stop at that. There are still some questions hanging out there, and folks that have asked other questions towards the end of the show. We have not been starring those questions because there's just too many of them there. So from Dale, what setting for CO2 for ballpark setting can be used to cut 6mm acrylic?
I need a lot more information. What lens do you have? What's the power of your laser? Yeah, I need a lot more information for that one. Saying you have a 60-watt CO2 with a 2-inch lens, 6mm, I would probably go 8mm a second at 60% power. Maybe 2 passes. I would have to do some tests on it to see. If you got a 4-inch lens, it'll do it in 1 pass. If you got a 100-watt laser, you might not need that much power.
All right. Renegade said, Jack, how much does the machines that you use usually cost?
You're
kind of all over the board on your machine cost.
My big red CO2, I've had it for a long time. I was actually looking up some videos, and I didn't realize I've had it for about 6 years. I got it before Monport or Omtech were even a thing. I made sure I got a U.S. distributor, but I got it on eBay. I paid $1,700 for that 60-watt laser. It did not come with a chiller. Now, I knew I was getting an eBay laser. I do not rely on customer support. If it has a problem, I'm going to dig into it and I'm going to fix it. That's just the way I am. So I don't care about customer support myself. So I'll buy the cheap stuff. Okay. My fiber laser, it was a 30-watt fiber laser when I bought it. I was not happy with the power it put out, so I took it apart and I put the 100-watt source and the brand new power supply in there myself. And I've got a video on my YouTube channel about that when I was doing that upgrade. I tear things apart. That's me. I can't recommend that for everybody.
Yeah, I'm not a tear apart guy on that kind of stuff. I guess one more question about your clamps. Do you sell a file to print your own clamps?
I do not have the file for sale. I guess I could.
Okay.
But then you'd have to source those particular bolts, and there's all kinds of stuff there. So.
Right. All right. Super cool. All right, that was the last question. So, folks, give us a thumbs up. Julianne, I'm going to bring it back up. Give a thumbs up down below in the little thumbs up button down below the video here. And so Julianne has been in the background making sure your questions have been starred. And chewing the fat with you as well. Jack, thank you for coming on board. I've learned a ton. What about you, Julianne? I mean, did you get a brain full of information here?
I mean, I've got like a full page of notes and stuff that I've been writing down, so I'm learning.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Rob said, what about his question? So it's just that we didn't get through all the questions that were up there. So unfortunately, Rob,
So many.
apologize.
I've got a
Yeah,
Discord
so
server.
many.
You can go out to the Laser Everything Discord server. You can go out to the Clack Shack's Laser Engraving community on Facebook. I'm going to be on all of those platforms. I'm a moderator on all of them.
Okay. Will that be in the description of the video, Julianne? The Discord?
Once I put it in there.
Okay. All right. Well, she'll take care of that tomorrow, or when she can get to it, she'll put that information into the description of this video. So
I just got an invite to somebody's laser shop.
ooh, she can Indian play in the shop. We need to get up there anyway. You got to go up and see Kate.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Make the rounds.
And I want to get up to what's the school that's up there? I want to get up there anyway. Get that school, the Mark Williams School of Woodworking or something like that.
I think it's, I don't know. I think it's Adams School of Woodworking. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. It's supposed to be a popular thing. Anyway, Jack, thank you for taking. Yeah. Anyway, Jack, thank you for taking the time to share with us your knowledge.
Sure. I hope I didn't confuse nobody.
You know what? We all start somewhere, and I just started somewhere. I guess Julianne did too.
The PowerPoint was helpful.
Oh, totally. That was good. Build on that PowerPoint, dude. That was good.
That's just something I threw together today. So.
That works.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah, it totally works. Work on that one. That was good. All right, folks, we are going to check out, and we'll be back next Wednesday. We won't have anybody lined up just yet, so it may be just little old me. Jack will be in the comments. He comes on here every Wednesday and hangs out with everybody. So next week, we'll see you again, and we'll do another giveaway then. Make sure you take a minute to give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because this I just bring lots of different people on board here. Vectoric and Schaefer Origin, a machine that my boss here won't let me get, things like that. All right, well, we're going to check out, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time sharp. Good night, everybody.